Well, hello. Welcome to Pop Culture Therapy. My name is Cruellica Kain.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while. Advent Nebula here for the first time in months.
And we're here actually with a special guest. We have Miss Kira Buckland.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, we're very glad to have you here at Colorado Anime Fest 2023 for our latest episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we thought we would enjoy this time talking about the fun of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, especially because with Kira, she finally made a dream come true. You're officially a part of the Joestar family.
Yes. It still doesn't feel real.
Because I know the last time we had talked about JoJo's, we had talked about cats, just because we're both cat lovers and we're both nerds for JoJo's. So I just wanted to get your feedback on what it was like to be officially now a part of the Joestar family.
Well, it still didn't feel real. Like when it became announced that part 6 was getting animated, I was just like, oh, like I was really scared because I was like, well, you know, it might not be me, like when they do the English dub, right? Because that's the thing. It's like you can want a role like so bad and do everything in your power to get it, but it's like at the end of the day, if you're not the best fit for the role, someone else is going to get it. So that's what I was really worried about. I was like, well, so I was trying to tell myself like, okay, I just want an audition. I just want a fair shot at it, and if someone else outreads me and is better fit, then you know it wasn't meant to be, and I'm gonna have to accept that. But you know, I had the audition was due like this same day because there was a mix-up with like just like getting it sent or whatever, so I had to like really like, you know, I couldn't spend a lot of time agonizing over how I was gonna say every line for the audition. I just had to kind of record it and just trust that like my 8 years of loving this character would just like, you know, bring something to it or whatever. And I even like recorded an extra clip of just the ora 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 because that wasn't in the original audition line, and I was like, okay, well, I want to show them I can do the auras. So I mean, you know, at the end of the day, obviously I don't know how many people read for it or whatever, but it still didn't feel real when I got the email basically saying I was like shortlisted for the role, like, you know, in one of the top considerations, because I was like, oh gosh, like it's really happening.
And not only that, but Demon Slayer's coming back too, so you're getting to reprise your role there again as well.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. I mean, you know, the sad thing about JoJo is just knowing that that's it, you know, obviously, because then the next parts are completely different.
It's a completely rebooted universe with Steel Ball Run, so it's like, if you get cast again, it's going to be a different character altogether.
Well, at this point, I'm like, I achieved my dream, let some other people be in JoJo's. Although it would be cool, I always say it would be cool just to be an unnamed background character in part 7 so I can continue the tradition of like being somewhere in every part since part 3.
Yeah, because with part 4, it's like, you're a victim to my favorite villain of all time.
Yup. He's like one of my favorite villains too, because I love David Bowie, so.
Well, absolutely. So you can't see it, but she has a Ziggy Stardust sweatshirt, and that's actually one of my favorite songs from his entire compilation.
Yeah, and anybody who's actually seen me in public, I'm wearing my custom Kira t-shirt today.
So now, what would you say to anyone who like doesn't think dreams will come true?
So I think it's important to kind of look at it two ways. Like, it is important to be realistic because obviously, you know, I got this one dream role. I got my biggest dream role, which I feel incredibly, incredibly fortunate for. But there have been so many characters that I really wanted to play or projects I really wanted to be in. And sometimes I even auditioned for those projects and I didn't end up booking anything in them. And that's really, really normal. Any creative field, you know, whether you want to be like a TV and film actor or theater, or you want to do like, I don't know, just any kind of entertainment career, so much of the time you're going to be going out for stuff that you don't get, and that's just something you have to kind of be okay with. And you know, for Jolyne, I knew it would be a lot harder for me if I didn't get it, because I had, you know, kind of broke the rule about like, they say just like send it and forget it, like don't try not to like get attached to anything that you audition for, because like 90% of the time you're not going to book it. There's a lot of competition. So you know, so generally I would say like have goals and work towards them. Be realistic that, you know, a lot of times they may not happen or they may not turn out in the way that you are looking for them to turn out. But the biggest thing that I tell people is just wanting something isn't enough. You have to say, what can I do? What concrete steps can I take to make this dream a reality? And in the case of acting, it's very much like, because no one's gonna give somebody a role because they want it, but if you really want a role, say like, okay, what do I need to do to prepare? And in the case of Jolyne, it's like I knew I needed to be able to show casting directors that I could play a character like that, because I used to not really get those super strong badass archetypes or whatever. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna like really work hard on learning to play those types of characters. I'm going to like audition for that type of role if I ever, you know, get a chance to, that sort of thing, because I wanted to be thought of as like, this is somebody we should send this audition to when it comes around.
Very awesome. So I know the game doesn't come out till July, but the recording process for Trails for Reverie has pretty much been done. How's it like going in knowing this is going to be the end of that saga storyline?
Well, it's really nice whenever I get to revisit a Trails game, just because I've done so many at this point that it's kind of like, whenever you get to reprise a role, it's like you don't have to go through that journey of like, okay, I need to find out who the character is and stuff, because you've already played them. So it's sort of like just getting to explore even more of them, which is really nice. And I love that I get to play a cat.
One of my favorite characters too, a tsundere cat.
Yes. I'm like, yeah, this role was made for.
Now, has playing different parts, has that changed how you do your acting style? Having the opportunity to have played like Jolyne and then work in the Trails games as well as other anime series. Have you evolved your acting style knowing the different types of characters you've worked with?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate that I'm not really typecast. I've played all different characters all across the board. But the thing that it comes down to is, at the end of the day, it's all about like acting fundamentals. So whether you're playing the same types of roles a lot or whether you're playing different roles a lot, it's all about like, okay, how can you know, sort of, and you don't get a lot of time for this in voice acting, because so much of it, it's like you may not even know what you're working on before you go in or whatever. And it's just kind of like in that moment, you have to kind of rely on the director telling you, okay, this is what type of character you're playing. And then you're seeing the script for the first time and you have to cold read it, which is why I always tell people to read out loud and stuff if they want to be voice actors. But I think it's kind of like, once you know the acting fundamentals, which is why I always tell people like take any kind of acting classes you can if you want to be a voice actor, then you can just kind of approach each character as like their own unique person. So it's like occasionally maybe I'll see a character and think, oh, I can pull in a little bit of like something I did for this character, this other character as a baseline, or another performance of someone else's that I like, I can kind of, you know, use to like build off of as inspiration if I'm doing an audition or something. But for the most part, it's just like you have to just be believable as that character, and you know, just like know what you're saying is them, and it has to sound real.
No, I think that makes sense, because you want to have that level of authenticity and genuineness in whatever you're doing to make any audience member feel like they're connecting with that character, even if it's like a super psycho character. You want to still connect with
yeah. Because I know everybody kind of has different acting methods, and I know some people really subscribe to the theory of like you have to find something that you have in common with your character. And for me personally, that hasn't really worked for me, just because it's like sometimes you'll play characters that are completely opposite to you. So kind of like how I approach breaking down a character is just thinking like, okay, so who are they? Like what motivates them? And a lot of this becomes kind of like second nature once you do it a long time. But, you know, just kind of thinking, because the character might have totally different responses to something than you would. So you kind of have to be able to be like in your character's head a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So back in your earlier career, 2B was one of your earliest characters I got to know you as when I played Nier Automata. What's it like going back in that now and seeing the resurgence that's coming up with the fan base again with the anime now?
Well, it was very surprising when Nier first came out, because I had actually had quite a few acting credits by that point, but nobody really knew who I was. Like, you know, there were a few people who kind of followed, you know, some of the JRPGs I did or whatever, but for the most part, it was kind of like, you know, if I go to a con or something, people would be like, who are you? Or nobody would be in the line or whatever. And then when Nier came out, it was like, it completely shifted because suddenly it was like people were caring about my work. And you know, I know it's very easy. A lot of people want to be purists and say like, well, it doesn't matter as long as you're creating, then who cares if nobody sees it? And it's like, but I think as humans and as actors, we all have some sort of need to be like externally validated. Like it can't be what motivates you, because then you're gonna burn out. Like that's just not sustainable. But you know, but I think everybody who does some sort of creative work, they want to feel like somebody out there is watching or listening or playing or appreciating their work. So just, you know, having people like know who I was as an actor for the first time, that was really wild.
If you could change one thing about anything that you've done over your career, what would it be?
Oh, that's really hard, because there's a lot of things like you know, everybody's like, oh, I wish I started earlier and I wish I, you know, moved to LA sooner or this or that so I could have done more work. But it's kind of like, I don't know, my career path just ended up being what it was. And sometimes I think like, well, if things turned out differently, would I have been Jolyne? So I'm mostly just kind of like, okay, I am happy with how things turned out, but I guess like, you know, the one thing that would have helped me earlier on is to really focus on being a better actor, because I made the mistake that many, many people do when they are first trying to go into voice acting, and they focus so much on the voice and how to like sound certain ways and how to change their voice. But it's like, that's such a small part of voice acting. Like what's gonna get, because yeah, like voice print of course matters when they're auditioning a character. If I used to play a lot of high-pitched characters. If I auditioned for Jolyne and was like, I'm Jolyne Cujo, like of course no one's gonna cast me. So it's a balance. But I think, ultimately I tell people what's gonna get you cast is, can you be believable as this character? Like when you audition, your audition needs to sound like it's that character authentically like speaking, if that makes sense.
And I've heard a lot of people say one of the best things to do is, even for voice acting, learning how to read body language can actually help that with anime dubbing.
Interesting. I feel like I'm terrible at that, but but you know, even just kind of like watching it and just kind of getting familiar, just learning how to adjust timing is really important in anime, because it's very, very common, obviously, since we're matching something that's been already completely animated. It's really common that you'll try a take of the line, they'll say, okay, that was great, but we need it a little faster, we need it a little slower. And if it's like way under or way over, sometimes the director will add words or take away words and rewrite the line a little bit. But for the most part, it's really good if you can kind of like be adaptable with timing. Like sometimes musicians do really well in dubbing because they know the timing in their head for things.
They're able to also hear that beep without the beep actually hitting their mic.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do for fun when trying to unwind after doing a hard day's work, recording, or anything like that?
So I'm kind of like a workaholic, and I don't have like, I wish I had more work-life balance. It's something I'm going to try to do, but it's hard because, you know, as an actor, you don't want to turn down any projects. Sure. It feels like a death sentence for a career or whatever, even if you're like, I'm overwhelmed and I can't handle this. But one thing that I started doing like half a year ago is Twitch streaming. So I mean, I don't have like a really fancy setup or stream schedule or anything, but I just like, I play Genshin Impact like every day because I have to do my dailies and, you know, all that stuff. Like there's always stuff to do in Genshin, so I just like stream it and I let people come in and co-op with me. So I play a lot of Genshin. I play a lot of Pokemon Go because it also is a way that I can go out and get some physical activity. And then go to the coffee shop and hang out with the cats that go around the coffee shop, in addition to my own cats.
I love it. I love cats.
And you want to get a kitten, don't you?
Yes, that's my goal.
Aww.
I found we were looking at the Dumb Friends League, and there were so many cute like gray blue cats. They're short hairs.
Bud.
Yes,
Yes.
I I like to adopt from different organizations just to help them at the same time, because it feels like it's giving back to help other cats find a safe home.
Yeah, because I just lost my dog in January, and it's like we're both talking about going out and getting a pet at the same time.
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Yeah, I'm very, very passionate about cat rescue. Like I'll sometimes do things like I have art prints of my cats, and if people buy those, I donate some to cat rescue and things like that. And I want to do a fundraiser eventually.
Yeah, so if you don't know, following her Twitter page, it's basically following a cat fan page.
Which is awesome because I watch more cat videos than I do anything else, admittedly.
Yeah, same for my Instagram. It's just like a catstagram. So I'm like, what else am I gonna post? Like,
so I guess the last question to really have is, I'm gonna go really dorky. If you had to choose one stand of all the stands from JoJo's, who would you choose?
And you can include 7 or 8 parts as well.
oh. So there's some stands that I'm like, these are just really cool. Because I really like Killer Queen, of course. I like Scary Monsters because I'm a big David Bowie fan. I think Catch the Rainbow is a really cool stand. But then it's like, do you want something really OP? Like, do you just want Wonder of You? Like, it's like, yeah. And then I have my own stand that I came up with as well. Stray Cat, of course. Like, I just want any cat-like stands.
Yeah, I would say anything from part 4 or 5. I just love all of those. Like Rubber Soul is super awesome.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a big Beatles fan, so any of the Beatles ones.
Super like White Album.
Oh yes.
And yet, my stand gets to that I would love to have gets only used once with Ball Breaker in.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is pretty much all that we have, but I would love people to be able to reach out and see your cat pictures and just be able to see all the other works that you did. Do you mind sharing your social media?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find me on Twitter. It's just my name, and then I have a link tree there that links to like my Twitch and other stuff. Twitch is the main thing that I use in terms of like I stream on there and stuff. Because I'm not like super active on most social media, just for mental health and all that. But yeah, I would say like, if you want to interact, then following my streams, and we have like a little Discord where people can share their cats and stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And with that said, bye.
Yada yada dawa.